It is September 29th, 2015, and as the Sharks game went to triple zeros, pretty much so did the Giants game did. We like to join our friends from Giants. Wait, let me try it again. It's live. I don't care. We'd like to join our Giants fans into hockey season and welcome you to this edition of Pucknology After Dark. Following a 2-1 preseason victory over the Vancouver Canucks. Oops, I forgot. The NHL Network isn't going to show this until midnight. My bad. All right. So, if you want to be part of the show, we will share all that with you. There's all the info you need. Use the hashtag Pucknology After Dark to ask questions or comment, or you can tweet any of us at Pucknology, at PuckGuy14, at Eric Landy, at AJ_Strong, and at J Alexander 46 are at the game, and we're hoping to get phone calls from them shortly on what they occurred for tonight. But for first, I'll bring in my compadre, Eric Landy. Eric, we're doing this. This isn't the preseason podcast anymore, where we're just going to ramble on. We're doing the post-game call-in show format of this. So good evening to you. How are you?
I'm doing all right. Besides mourning for my Giants, but it's all right. It's all right.
That's right. Unfortunately, it tough way for the Giants to go as the Dodgers clinch on AT&T Park soil, but that's baseball. We're on the verge of hitting October.
Yeah, it was funny because as the Sharks bowed out in our regular season last year, I said, "Well, there's always baseball, but now there's always hockey. Yay!"
Exactly. So basically, we're talking about tonight's game, 2-1 Sharks victory. They look pretty good. Although I think after Burns scored that second goal, they kind of went into protect the lead mode again. It's something that DeBoer is going to have to get, push into to stop. So.
Yeah, no, I mean, if you just look, it's very reminiscent of last year. It was a very half-empty kind of win. If you look at my little dashboard on my lower third ID, well, at least Jones looks good.
Yeah.
I mean, he let one by, and wasn't really his fault. It was a little bit of a squeaker, but not too bad, and looked very good. With the Canucks crashing the goal crease, Sharks did a really good job of clearing out the slot. I thought had three really bad errant giveaways that I've kind of made note of, but just kind of overall, I think it was a good defensive shutdown. I like the system, but playing way too much in their own end.
Right. It got really into protective mode way too early. So it's kind of in what was it 8-1 were the shots in the third period at one time. I'm trying to pull up the stat sheet.
Yeah, the shots at about the 2 minute to go mark, so 18 minutes elapsed. It was 8-1 shots in favor of the Canucks, and like you said, they were just in shell mode. Like I said, the defensive system looked pretty sound, so that I was very pleased about that. But I feel like it's just too reminiscent of what it used to be, our old shell mode.
Yeah, and they actually finished the third period being outshot by Vancouver 9-2. Overall, the shots on goal for the game, Vancouver had 31, Sharks had 22. It's kind of interesting as to the stats for their shots just kept going down and down. They were out shooting them 13-10 early, getting on them, really pushing on Vancouver really early, but then just started trickling down. And that's kind of a concerning part as you go into the final 2 games of preseason. One of the things that this team was sadly known for dealing with
Yeah,
in the
definitely.
past.
Yeah, the turtle, I think, is something that we've all come to expect with high frequency with a Sharks lead, and especially the dangerous 3-goal variety. They just seem to turtle right up, and seem to lack that will to put them away, put the teams away. That really costs them. Cost them a few games last year. A year before, though, I mean, we really saw it in the playoffs. It was very evident.
Yeah, it really is, and you can't afford to have that happen because it's just gonna get into a habit, and that's one habit we can't get into it. I'm gonna try to get a hold of 2 of our co-hosts, AJ and Gentry, who are both at the game tonight. Of course, AJ was schmoozing it up with his new BFF John Tortora. Um, and so we'll get some thoughts of that as he was sitting in his seats. But as we take it to the tweets a little bit, Hannah asking there's no chat. I don't know. I still find it. Gentry, hi. Oh, and we'd like to welcome our first phone call guest of the night to Gentry Alexander. And Gentry, you're on Pucknology After Dark. How are you, good sir?
Yeah, this is a dream come true. First time caller, long time listener.
Hey.
It was. I just got to say that Matt Nieto is this generation's Mike Rathje with that pass.
Oh wow, that pass was awful.
Yeah, that was one of my 3.
That was god awful. It was like straight to him. He Kaepernicked that one.
Oh
Yeah,
jeez, ouch.
It was Keystone
Yeah,
Cops.
the Long Beach native. Yeah. Let's remind everybody that, remember, he's from Long Beach, folks.
Very, very reminiscent of the Keystone Cops. You have Mirko.
But anywho, so far it was you know what, honestly, it was an okay game, very okay effort from the team. They got lucky on that shot pass that somehow trickled between the 5-hole of Ryan Miller. Wait, no. 5-hole getting past Miller. Where have I remember that goal happening? I don't remember. God, I think it was Vancouver somewhere.
Ouch.
And
you have to bring that back up, man. Come on.
The golden boy. All right, let's remember the golden boy Crosby.
No, jeez. Landy, did you have a question for Gentry?
Oh no, I was just saying the whole sequence was Keystone Cops-esque. You had Mueller passing it to Nieto, and Nieto just straight out into the slot.
Yeah, that was it. And I do want to say that dangerous part of the night was that Tierney going face first into the post at full speed. That made me worried.
That was a very, very big concern.
Yeah, but he got back onto the ice and he looked solid tonight. So I'm hoping that it's not that big of a deal.
Yep.
Agreed.
Yeah.
But overall, third period they were concerning, but they got the victory, so I guess that's something, right?
You know what? I think that's a big confidence booster. And I think that, and you got to give credit to where credit's due with Martin Jones. I mean, 29 saves on 30 shots. That's an impressive. And he like I said, he was in net. He was impressive and solid, and I'm hoping that's a confidence booster for him going forward and into a week from tomorrow.
Right. We are 7 days and 21 hours away from the puck drop of this season. I would venture to guess, and I'll ask this to both of you. Jones is pretty much number 1, isn't he?
I think he's inked on there. It's not going anywhere. He's not penciled in. He's inked in.
Yeah.
No, not even that. He's embroidered in, bro.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
He's embroidered as our number 1 goalie. There's no ink. There's no pencil marks. Nah, it's embroidered. That's happening.
Oh, jeez. It seems like it. Well, I'll let you go because I know you have a drive back, and then you got to go back to work in the early morning. So, thank you for being on. Appreciate your insight, and I will chat with you later this week, bud.
Thanks for the call.
And yeah, bring your game face this Saturday. It's the WTF hockey draft, bruh.
You know, I'll tell you off air, but I might have to leave right away. My mom is coming back from vacation at 7 o'clock at night.
Oh, well.
I know
you want me
that's
to auto draft your team?
no, because then I'll get stuck with Mirko Mueller and Brendan Dillon with my first 2 picks.
Oh man, I wouldn't do that to you. I'd give you John Tavares, and then for your 4th pick overall, who would I give you 4th pick overall?
Jack
I'd give you
Eichel.
Mark-Edward Vlasic.
Oh, you ass. Thanks a lot. All right, thank you.
Have a good one, guys.
Bye.
You too.
All right, that was Gentry Alexander, probably walking from the Shark Tank to San Pedro Square. You know, he did mention it. You know, Martin Jones has looked pretty good in his starts in net. I don't think that he's had a horrific game. I don't think he's let in the softy goals that we've been known to see. The former 31 do. I'm trying to pull up some tweets here as we go. Rocket Backhander from Teal Tinted Grasses says Miller's 5-hole is pretty girthy. Oh boy, that's not good. That's not good at all. And yes, Hannah and Eric and Ian have definitely figured out how the chat. Yeah, for some reason the chat's not working in it, and partly because it's how I set up the thing. That's where Chris comes in. So, Chris, if you're listening, you need to resend me the info on how to set it up so we have the chat going, so we can read through that. But otherwise, just use the Twitter. Just use the Twitter machine. That works immensely. AJ, if you are seeing this, I did send you an invite. So if that doesn't work, just call my phone. Moving on. I know a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, it's just you two. What the? How is that? What? So I think we saw a lot of what we will see come next Wednesday. I'm not sure, and Gentry mentioned this. I'm not sure about Matt Nieto. I am not sure about Matt Nieto. I mean, the good thing is that he still has some time left where he can go down to the minors.
Yeah, he's currently on his last year of his ELC, the same as Hurdle. So I believe that particular contract is movable and not subject to waivers. I believe if you are in your ELC, you are still able to shuttle back and forth to the minors without going through waivers. I believe it's when you start to get into your contract years after your ELC that the service time and the contract type goes into effect, because you can still be on a 2-way contract but are subject to waivers. So we saw that with Fraser McLaren, had to pass through waivers to go to the AHL. Now we don't know exactly why he was placed on waivers, if it was just a waivers to get him through to the AHL, or if it was a waivers in order to move him / release him from his contract. So not exactly sure. However, Nieto would be eligible to return to the Barracuda without waivers. So I mean, like I was saying before, it was a series of very bad decisions by the rooks. Nieto's not a rookie, but by the young folks. You got Mueller having an ill-advised pass into the boards to Nieto. Nieto, instead of taking the veteran move of just eating it on the boards, he decides to shuffle the pass through the slot, Oh, Ian says it is by games played, not by ELC status. So I knew that that service time did play a factor in that. I thought it was all ELCs meant you could go back. I'm not exactly sure what the service time cap is, but
I believe there was it's service played, and according to our friend Teal Puck, otherwise known as Lady Stanley, apparently Nieto has like 22 games left where he's still eligible to go down without waivers. So that's something that's going to be talked about um, throughout the rest of this week because Nieto hasn't shown too much greatness, but at the same time, while he scored an assist tonight, uh, Nikolai Goldobin hasn't really impressed me too much either.
he had two very, very juicy chances. He had a jumbo feed that he whiffed, and then he also had a Pavelski feed that kind of locked him up a little bit. So, he's seeing the ice. He's got the vision to want to take that shot. It's just that the release isn't there yet. So, I think that'll come with time. I think he does need to go back to the Barracuda though, at least for the beginning of the season. I don't think he's an opening day kind of guy. I think that they would probably give it to Donskoy before they gave it to Goldobin. However, I do like his vision. You can see the goal scorer's vision that he's got. He's going to be very creative, and I've got real high hopes for the kid. He looks very good. And it sounds from all accounts that he's got a lot of confidence too, which is good for a budding goal scorer.
Yeah, he had after the morning skate with the media. Apparently, he was hoping that Sedins were going to play today because he wanted to show how much better he is than the Sedins tonight. And while he got an assist, I was like, "Ooh, Goldie, you're gonna be pushing that. Let's not say that into the Vancouver media. They will run with that like nothing else for sure."
Yeah, and he also he was kind of playing some jokes with Timo Meyer, our first round pick from this year. He was pretending to be a media, being in the media scrum and had his iPhone out or something and kind of made it look like he was asking him questions. So, he's got that lightheartedness, which is really good to see from the rookies. They don't seem to take this crop doesn't seem to take themselves too seriously. I think serious enough, but they've also got that lightheartedness, which the Sharks dressing room has known to have, which I think is a good thing. Some people would want a Jonathan Taves like kind of guy to be in there all Mr. Serious, but I think a little bit of lightheartedness goes a long way, especially if through droughts and stuff, goal scoring droughts or anything.
And especially through this organization, we really had the quiet leaders of the group, and there's nothing wrong with that. I think like Stevie Eiserman or something. But at the same time, you also need a voice in that locker room, which is why I was hoping Boyle was going to be the captain a few years ago.
Agreed.
But,
That's what I wanted as well.
and speaking of which, we saw tonight three assistant captains again. We had what was it, Pavelski, Thornton, and Couture. So they're kind of still rotating around the A little bit. Care to make a guess?
Oh boy, I think
I know Couture's been in it, and Burns has had it, and Vlasic's had it too.
Are we strictly talking A's, or are we talking the C as well?
I'm talking the C specifically. I mean, who's going to grab it?
I would say that Pavelski has the inside track. However, I have heard and read that Burns seems to have this kind of X factor about him that would also work. So I would see either Pavelski or maybe Burns. Now, and there's one other thing I've heard is Joe might get it back. And that would be kind of interesting to kind of throw in a wrinkle. Now, I don't think the board would do that because I think it kind of undermined Wilson. But I have heard that floated around. personally, the person I love the most in that dressing room as far as accountability is Wingles. And I've kind of gone back and forth with people on Twitter like, oh, well, why would you give a third liner a C or whatever? But every time he talks, he's very introspective, but to the point where he's able to take responsibility upon himself, but also analyze the team with a lot of objectivity, which I feel like the other players don't. They do a lot of self-deprecation, and they don't really find the what's the word? They don't find the pinpoint things that they need to work on, or at least they don't elaborate that in the media scrums. Whereas Wingles is very good with that. And I also like Braun too. Braun is very, very introspective as well. So I like those two going forward. But I think in this particular crop, I think it's either Burns or Pavelski.
Yeah, I would say Burns would be very nice. He has that hint of Hunter Pence in him,
Yes.
where it's just, he's a free spirit per se, which some people would knock, but at the same time, the hunger is there, the passion is there. Me and Gentry were commenting about that the other night in the loss to Anaheim. That he seemed like one of those guys that was still trying, even though it was a preseason game. Just the desire to want to win is important, and it's where I bring this picture back up of Hunter Pence as a defenseman wearing captaincy, but we all know that won't happen. I don't think the Giants would allow that, let alone does he know how to skate. But hey, you never know.
Hannah chimes in that Wingles definitely deserves at least an A, and yeah, I'm definitely on that. But as far as Wookie, as far as the Wookie goes, I think anybody would follow that guy into battle. He's just got that persona that, you know what, I'll go to battle with this guy.
Ian, our friend from Tealton and Glasses, was saying DeBoer would be a legend if Thornton was named captain again. It's kind of interesting that Wilson's actually giving DeBoer the decision on the captaincy, because it seemed like how it came out was that this was basically all Wilson's doing of letting go of Thornton as wearing a C. I mean, it's yes, at one time it's a letter, but at the same time, when a Winnipeg crowd, and I think it also was an Ottawa crowd later late in the season last year, were starting the chant, "Who's your captain?" You can't tell me that it's not running in your heads. And while you have a number of veterans and younger youngsters who all could be A's right now, you got to find the 3, maybe 4 or 5, if you're going to alternate the A's on the road like we've done before. That will be your leaders on this team.
Yeah. No, I agree, and I think, like I said, I think you're starting to see the cream of the leadership crop come to the top now. I think Pavelski definitely is in that. I think Burns is definitely in that. And it's interesting. I go back and forth about Couture. On some days, I feel like he really is up to snuff and really is a bona fide leader. But then there are other days or other particular interviews where he just comes off as, man, he needs to grow up just that little bit more, and I love the kid, and I love Couture. I watched his draft and watched him come up, and he's a special player. But I think to put it on him now would be putting it on a young Joe Thornton, and I don't know what it would do to him this early.
Yeah. It would be tough. And let's also remember, Pavelski's going to be 31 this year, so he can be captain. He'll be captain for a few years, but, once we get into near his end of his current contract, you're going to have to wonder what are we going to do.
And I also think a defenseman captain is a little more steady to me. It seems like it's a little more steadying of a hand. Specifically, I remember Rob Blake and Blakey was just so good at kind of casting this calm aura across the team and kind of enveloping them in a little bit of a blanket. He kept them accountable, but he also tried to keep a lot of criticisms that pointed towards him, and him taking a brunt of it. And I think that's the mark of a good captain. But like I said before, I really like Burns. I think, like I said, I think the entire dressing room respects him. I think the entire dressing room sees him as a person that motors all the time, even if they're down 3 or 4 pucks. That he'll still go and he'll play him 100%. And I wouldn't say that about Patrick Marleau. What he would do in a 3-goal deficit. So there's something to be said for that.
It's very true. I mean, although we can say this, we've seen this team go down by 3 goals and give you that big tease where they get 2 goals in the third period. They're climbing for the third, and then all of a sudden they just crash and don't give an F. It just seems really weird. Getting back to the waiver exception, I want to thank Bleeding Teal on this. Andy, thank you so much. He sent a screenshot of this, and I'll try to read this verbatim. The most difficult part of the waiver system is that of the exception. As a general rule, players are exempt from their waiver requirement. Teams are free to assign them to the minor leagues and to recall them. Specifically, exemption is determined by a combination of the number of years under contract and games played. Once a player hits a threshold of games played based on the player's age and the number of years he signed his first NHL contract, he loses the exemption and must pass through waivers. I believe this is Nieto's 3rd contract. He's 22 right now, so he would have to play 160 games played, and he's played 138. So he still has 22 games where that
threshold gets in. Yeah.
Right. So he could play it possibly up to a quarter of the season this year and still be able to go down to the Barracuda, which, you know what, I'll be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if they sent him over there. You do not just.
I just saw that. Oh, shit. So Ian Reed tweets in, I love Couture the player, but I find the person to be kind of a whiny bitch. He says hashtag Pucknology after dark, hashtag shots fired. And the great Rocket Backhander chimes in, you did not just.
Go snap. Speaking of Ian and speaking of Rocket, as you know, they run the Teal Tinted Glasses podcast along with Wendell, which his name just blanks behind me right now. I can't think of it.
Wendell McGowan.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, Comic Not Geek is what his Twitter handle is. Where's the graphic for it? I had a graphic for this, and now for some reason all my graphics are gone. I just worked on the whole game for it. There we go. All right. Like how I stalled there. Perfect. All right. Just a quick reminder, promotion alert. The preview special. We're still working on a name, a trendy catch name that we'll use as a hashtag. But it's Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Next Tuesday night, I should say, where we will probably have the largest Sharks talk panel ever. Because let's be real here, outside Kurz and a couple analysts, I don't think we've ever seen a Sharks panel more than 4 people.
We put Yahoo Sports Talk Live to shame.
That's right. Take that, Kozamore. Oh my goodness.
Just kidding. Love you, Kozamore, but
we love you, Koz. We love everybody at CSN, especially the one and only the legend Brody Brazil. But we digress. All of a sudden, somewhere in an Uber car, AJ went, "Ooh, Brody Brazil."
Chester Chivo chimes in, if only Couture was as focused on hockey as he is Selena Gomez.
Oh, ouch, burn. Getting back to the preview special, it'll be all of us from Pucknology After Dark, Teal Tinted Glasses, I believe we also have John Wald from Bay Area Hockey Talk and Fear the Fin joining us. I believe Shalana Goldman will also be with us. It remains to be seen if she will. But trust me, we're going to challenge how great my connection is on Tuesday.
The podcast extravaganza.
Yes. We'll have breakdowns of the whole team, predictions, prognostications, you name it. We will have way too much fun. We can only hope that this will go to 2 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I have a feeling I'm probably going to be working early the next day, and I'll be a tired mofo if we're going to go more than 3. So, it'll be heavily moderated for sure. But oh my gosh, we got to take it to the tweets right now. We're just blowing up right now. Rocket Pack here says puck tinted teology. Yeah,
Ian Reed bites back at Rocket Backhander. He says, "I did, and I'll do it again tomorrow."
Wow. If that's not a lead into their podcast, I don't know what will.
Oh, the guys over at Teal Tinted are awesome.
Yes, they had AJ in last week, and it's crazy. It's crazy.
Mr. Strong.
I have shown up from the Uber car that you mentioned.
Oh, there we are, ladies and gentlemen. AJ Strong. Sorry, I don't have the sound effects on just yet. Well, I'll let that situate.
No, it's okay. I was listening in the Uber car that you just mentioned. I was listening to a little bit what you were talking about, whether it was about Couture, and I totally agree with Landy. He is not ready to wear a C. I'm not even sure at this point if he's ready to wear a letter.
No, I don't think so. It's sad because you don't want to alienate him, and I feel like it may just very well do that. But I don't think he's there maturity-wise. I just don't see it yet.
I would agree. For tonight's game, though, being there, big kudos to Justin Braun, the guy that I love to crap all over lately. When you look at his contract and what he's been getting, I have not liked what I've seen from him until tonight. He made some really key plays at key moments. But for me, there was a couple times Mueller and Dillon were a tire fire tonight.
No.
So it was very
Tire Fire 2016.
It was very Keystone Cops-esque when you had Mueller pass the puck to Nieto who backhanded it directly into the slot, and then you had the Canuck player come down and just tie the game.
Well, and Dillon was directly involved in that play as well, if you go back and look at it, because we were sitting about 15 rows from it, and it happened right in front of me. And as soon as I saw it happen, literally, it was face palm. I was, it's going to be bad.
Didn't it remind you of Mike Rathje's gifts in the 04 playoffs, where he just blindly backhand passed it right into the middle of the slot, which is one of those known blatant no-nos you don't do. If anything, rim it around the corner or anything.
The safest option in that particular place, for me at least, is Nieto eats the puck and have either the strong side or the weak side winger come down, or I guess in this case it would be the centerman who took the spot on the point, come down and help him out. You eat the puck there. You don't shift it into the slot, and you don't serve up meatballs. You just don't serve up meatballs.
No, I would completely agree. I was very disappointed in the pairing of Mueller and Dillon tonight. But on the positive note, Burns and Martin are going to be exquisitely fun to watch tonight. This season they are going to be a lot of fun to partake in. If Braun can keep this up, he seems to be going in an upward. Granted, it's basically a game and a half, but he seems to be trending in the right direction. If Braun and Vlasic can find some sort of chemistry, that would be very fun to watch. The one thing I wanted to ask you guys, and literally I wanted to ask you guys about it while I was at the game, did we see a little bit of kind of Todd McClellan-esque coaching where, and granted, it's preseason, so you want to see things, but I'm telling you, I saw a lot of, let's just, throw caution to the wind and throw all the names in a hat and see what we pull out. I mean, some of those combinations were pretty interesting tonight.
Yeah, and I thought there was a couple that worked. I did really like the Hurdle Wingles combination. Nieto in that factor wasn't so awesome, but I could see Hurdle and Wingles kind of working off each other. I also liked Torres and Tierney together. But let's just say that their off-winger, that would be Brown and Nieto, were not doing them any favors in those particular pairs. I'd love to see Smith with Tierney and Torres. I think that would be a pretty awesome line. And I would like to see Hurdle, Carlson, and Wingles as a line. I think that would be also very good. You've got a little bit of that grit, you got a little bit of that skill, and you got some big bodies.
I'm just really interested to see how they're going to play this, because it seems as if they have it where it's, at least to me, maybe, and tell me if I'm wrong, it seems to me that the second line is almost kind of set in stone, where it's Couture with Marleau and Ward, and clearly you have Thornton and Pavelski on the top line, and it's, are we going to plug Hurdle into that spot? Are we going to plug Donskoy into that spot? And that was actually a thing that kind of bummed me out, is that going into tonight's game, I was under the assumption, I thought I had saw it tweeted, that Donskoy was going to get a look tonight on that line. So when I saw that he was a healthy scratch tonight, I was really bummed out. Go ahead, Wayne.
Yeah, it was Goldobin. He was the one that was penciled in for the slot tonight. I saw that pretty much all throughout the day today.
And I don't know if you caught it, AJ, but he had an interesting quote after the morning skate.
Who is this that you're speaking of?
Nikolai Goldobin.
Okay.
This is the thing about wanting to play the Sedins.
Yeah, I hope they're going to be in so I can show that I'm better than them.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if you saw the tweet that I made earlier, but on the way into the bathroom between the first and second period, I saw a guy in a Sedin's jersey, and I said, "Oh my God, what should I wipe my ass with? What's softer, a Sedin jersey or a roll of Charmin?" He didn't think that was that funny, but I thought it was hysterical, and there was a bunch of people in Sharks jerseys that all thought it was very funny. Thank you. There you go. So, getting back to the lines, though, and what we're going to see on opening night, I still go back to the idea that the lines that when Ian and Wendell and Rocket were gracious enough to let me guess last week, we discussed lines for a brief moment, and Ian and I seemed to kind of be on the same page, where we both thought that, at least to start the season, we thought the best part would to go with Pavs, Thornton, and Hurdle, because Hurdle, and actually I thought Hurdle had kind of a not the greatest game tonight. I think this might have been his worst preseason game so far, but previously he had shown a desire to get dirty and to get down to the net like he did 2 years ago. So we had looked at that as the top line. Of course, like I said before, Couture, Marleau, Ward as your second line. And then you have Tierney centering that third line, because he did so well in that role last year. You put him between Wingles and Donskoy. And then on the bottom line, of course, you have Smith. And if Torres is up to snuff, you have Smith centering, say, Carlson and Torres. Or if you need a little more rough stuff, maybe you drop out Carlson for that game and you insert Brown, depending on what you want to do. Getting back to what I was saying before about Dillon and Mueller, I'm still nervous about that 5-6 spot. I know Dylan is a young guy, and clearly Mueller is. It just makes me wonder where we're going to be 25, 30 games into the season, or just 25% into the season. Is there some wiggle room between? Because we all know the Sharks are just $1 million under the cap. I mean, they're right up against it. Is there going to be some sort of wiggle room that they can maybe make a move to find a better fifth guy to shore it up? And before anybody says it, Ehrhoff has already been signed. It's not going to be him.
No, and I don't think that's the player that's needed.
Exactly. I think it's more of a shutdown guy.
Yeah, agreed. I would say, I'm going to make a bold prediction here. I think Nieto starts the year in the Barracuda.
And you know what? I think that's a fantastic prediction. Like I had said before when I brought up the thing about Teal Tinted Podcast, we had brought that up as well, where to me, and you ask Eric, you ask Puck Guy, I've said this more than a couple times, to me, Nieto is the new Torrey Mitchell. All feet, no hands, no finish.
I would say that. However, seeing his rookie year, I think he showed a lot more hand coordination in that rookie year when he first burst onto the scene, more so than Mitchell did. I don't think Mitchell showed us as nearly the amount of flash with the hands as Nieto has. However, I just don't see Nieto starting on the opening night roster. I think he belongs in the Barracuda, and I think Mueller does too. And I would venture to guess we're either going to see Tennyson or we're going to see DeMello plugged into that sixth spot.
And I'm sorry, Eric. That was another, or I'm sorry, Puck Guy. I know I have to differentiate. that was actually my other big bummer tonight when I saw that DeMello was scratched and 27. I was just saying his name the whole time. The new guy, 27.
Donskoy.
Yeah, Donskoy. Yeah, I was really bummed when I saw that both of those guys were scratched. But go ahead, Eric. I'm sorry.
No, I was going to say you make a great point on the defenseman. Mueller just doesn't seem quite ready. I think while Tennyson's been up and down with the team for a few years now, I think you got to give him a shot now.
Well, not only that, but he's on his one-way portion of his deal.
So if he comes up, he's got to clear waivers.
If he's on the opening night roster, he doesn't clear waivers. He doesn't need to clear waivers, but he can't be sent down without going through waivers.
Isn't that the same thing?
No, I think. Well, how I read it or how I heard it was that he would have to go through waivers to be on the opening night roster. That he's good now. He's set up for now. But if he starts in the Barracuda and he goes,
and then we call him up, we have to get
exactly.
Got it.
Okay,
got it.
And we're going to cue the Ian Reed tweet that corrects all three of us in 3, 2, 1. No, I guarantee.
Here, you know what? Here, I'll just do this. Right now. I'll just do this, and then it'll probably make Rocket a little jealous. Anyways, go on. You guys talk.
No, obviously I came in, third man in, so to speak, late man to the game, because I was there. But just looking at some of the tweets, Ian Reed. At Ian Reed, RSEN, so he thought Braun was not great, but not nearly as bad as the Dylan Mueller combo. I guess I shouldn't say that I thought Braun was great, but
he wasn't noticeable.
Exactly. He wasn't the liability that I saw in the first couple games. He wasn't the liability that I saw last season towards the end. He definitely made some good plays. He made some smarter plays tonight. Hopefully, like I'm saying, that is a trend going towards the future. Well,
Rocket, I mean, Vlasic can make my pet dog look like an all-star defenseman. So there is that.
Hi-yo. Rocket Backhander from Teal Tinted Glasses podcast says, I sound terrific. and she's also she's glad that I agree with her about Burns and Martin. Just to let you know, I did this just specifically for the teal tinted glasses, and I'm hoping that the Pucknology After Dark group or the crowd will enjoy that. I've actually bought a new microphone, so hopefully.
Oh, nice.
So
No, very, very silky. Very silky.
is that a little
It's
silky?
smooth.
There is no way that I will see. I can sit here and get up very close onto the mic and talk into this voice, and I will never ever touch the silky smoothness that is NHL ties. But I get a mic and I attempt.
Well, and speaking of which, I'm going to say this. Sorry to cut you off, AJ. NHL ties in our BFF Brody. I'm just saying, after that little conflict we had last night on Twitter, I think you guys need to hug it out virtually on the season regular season debut.
Absolutely. That's what I'm thinking. Wednesday, there would be no better way to kick off the 25th anniversary season than to have Brody and NHL ties. Because as we saw on Twitter, Brody said, I would love a confrontation. So I think we need to make this happen. He clearly has an issue with being number 9 on the list. I have an issue with Brody being number 9 on that list.
I was the one who first broke it out with it being number 9. I was kind of surprised. I thought, if he has the hashtag tie 77 of breaking it out, don't you think you deserve more than 9? I was thinking top 5. I know Brody would think number 2 because no one can surpass tie 99 for sure.
Nobody touches tie 99.
No.
There will never be. And just to let you know, because I know everybody that is actually watching this who has ever paid attention to us, they know. And there's our boy. I love it. There's our Canadian wonderkin. Just to let you know, no, I did not run into John Tortora tonight, my BFF. I did not run into him. And I think we're all a little saddened by that. But getting back quickly to the Twitter machine, and actually the thing that I was next going to go to on the Twitter machine, now that we have him here, I think it's great. Ian made a comment on Twitter that says a lot of the young guys are getting double shifted, and he was upset about that, and I would love to hear Ian's thoughts on that.
Yeah, so after the game, I kind of felt like, it kind of made me nervous because I kind of felt like this was a little bit like last season where, the Sharks would come out on fire for a period, and then the second period they tapered off, and in the third period, you just, wanted to hang yourself as they got outshot 8-1. So I kind of was talking to a couple buddies of mine on Facebook, and I was just kind of saying, like, look, this is ridiculous. It's like last year all over again. But then when I was kind of shown like how the usage was and the time on ice and stuff, it kind of made a little more sense because it seemed like, he didn't really, being a preseason game, it wasn't like he was riding the top line. He was playing a lot of the other, other players much more than Thornton and then some. So even though the rosters were really, really not, comparable tonight, I thought the Sharks iced a much superior roster to what the Canucks did.
The Canucks didn't even bother to bring up the Sedins.
No, I mean, like, out of the names that were on there, like, there's like Edler, Tanev, Miller. I mean, other than that, it was a bunch of some of their prospects. So
in going through TSN 1040 today, with a beautiful TSN 1040, and their wonderfully, Canucks coverage, they're still trying to decide on who really there's going to be a youngster that's going to come up in their team for opening night. They just don't know exactly when.
Mm-hmm.
So they've been playing through that.
Yeah, I think Vertan and McCann have made really strong cases to be on that opening night roster for Vancouver, which has probably given them a few more difficult decisions than I thought they'd have going in.
Yeah, I thought they're pretty high on their what is it, 14th round or 14 round, or their Jesus. Their 2014 draft
English is a hard, isn't it?
it is. Yeah, Bertanev, they're pretty high on that kid, and I can see why. He's got some skill.
Yep.
But, there was one thing I did want to mention, though, is that if we do stick Mueller and Nieto in the minors, boy, that Barracuda team is looking pretty stacked. That cupboard's starting to look a lot better than it did 2 years ago.
Absolutely. I mean, and that's one thing. We can get on Doug for everything, but he stacked the farm club pretty quickly. It's just a matter of them all coming together. It's where you see Mueller come with his potential. You see Nieto with his potential. And it's not just the Barracuda. It's the guys in junior. You look at Rope Chartier. Meyer just went back to Halifax.
Kevin LeBlanc, Saudoui or Saudoui.
Yep.
Saudoui. And the two Latvian kids that we just drafted this year, they look very good. I've been very happy with their draft record. Roy, sorry. And so I have a lot of hope for the Sharks system where I didn't have much hope in the last year and a half, where it just looked very bare. Now the outstanding year from Jevlapovs and Chartier and Sadawi and LeBlanc all really did wonders for the farm system. But I don't have as big a problem now sending Mueller and Nieto back, with the caveat that Sommer is the head coach of the Barracuda.
Well, okay, I'll give you that. But let's be honest though. Think about it. As Sharks fans, guys that have been following the Sharks for what seems like forever, we have seen the articles. We've discussed it. The Sharks, what I want to say 3, maybe 4 years ago, were, I think, rated about 3 seasons in a row as having the worst pipeline in the NHL.
Yeah, hockey. What is it? Hockey Prospectus had us at like 28th for 3 years running.
Yeah, so it's kind of like, well, look at how things have changed. So at least they've done well in that regard. So, like I said, it kind of takes me back to the idea of, I love that Dylan is 24. That's great. He's a younger guy, and he might be the perfect, maybe, number 6 guy. I still think that we're completely lacking in the 5-6 spots on D. That's been the Sharks' Achilles heel for essentially forever.
Since Blake retired.
For me, I think it's even before that. So it's a case of, do the Sharks decide to roll with Dylan and Tennyson? Do they decide to roll with... Obviously, I'm assuming because Dylan's been in the league long enough, there is no way you can send him down without him having to clear waivers. So maybe there's a 7th guy you bring up, and Dylan maybe rides the bench once in a while. But we still are missing that key ingredient. I don't think Stollery is the key, but maybe a pairing of Tennyson and Mueller. Maybe it's that thing of you go with the top 4 that you have, and then you just kind of have this mixture depending on who you're playing that particular night between Tennyson, Dylan, Mueller, whoever. But either way, that 5 or 6, I'm still not in love with that 5 or 6. But we do have the I doubt that Puck Guy has it at the ready, but I'm sure he could do it like on the fly, where you can go breaking news.
Breaking news music? I can do that.
No, it's okay. It's been done. Breaking news: NHL Ties is watching us tonight, and he has said, "Bring it." He wants the naughty confrontation.
Hey, you know how you say that? This doesn't.
I've been tying a tie since I was 4 years old when I went to English prep school. I can do a double Windsor.
Well, now see, when I say the naughty confrontation, I'm not talking the NAUGHTY. I'm talking the KNOTTY. This is the naught. Okay, who turned on their music? Because I can hear myself in echo right now. That's you, isn't it, Puck Guy?
Hey, you told me to try to break
Alright.
music.
Either way, NHL Ties has said to bring it. I have reached out to Brody. We'll see if he gets back to me. But if we can make it happen, there would be nothing better than to follow up the Sharks beating LA to open the season next Wednesday at Staples, than with a nice 20-minute conversation or confrontation between NHL Ties and Brody Brazil, where myself, Puck Guy, if Ian and Landy are with us at the time, we will all be on mute, and we will just sit there and bask. We will all bask in the naughtiness of it all.
It's gonna be insane. No matter what, it's gonna be insane. You know what's gonna be really more insane is Tuesday night. Boy, howdy, are we gonna? I know I'm promoting this again, but why the hell not? Again, it'll probably be the largest Sharks Talk panel ever. Take that, Yahoo Sports Talk Live.
That's right. Absolutely.
Speaking of which, who all is involved in this right now at this point? Who's on the leaderboard, shall we say?
As coming on to the show, well, let's see. You're looking at 4 of them right now. You have myself, Ian, Landy, AJ, Gentry, Rocket, Wendell, John Walls from Bay Area Sports Talk. We're still trying to see if Shalana will be coming in. I know her schedule is tight. Hopefully it opens up now that the Giant season is done. So we're looking. Let's see. Let me count this. Eric, AJ, Ian, Wendell, Rocket, Gentry. So and John Wald. 8 people right now.
Oh my God, that sounds like just the hockey orgy from hell. That sounds fantastic. I can't wait to do it.
Right.
And I have been so corrected by NHL Ties. There is no such thing as a double Windsor. There is only half or full.
Boom!
We all knew it as a double Windsor, and apparently Google does as well, but I guess I'm wrong.
Well, and also to point out what I was saying with Dylan, Andy Man, Bleeding Teal just said 209 NHL games played for Dylan, which is over the 160 game threshold for waivers when sent down or called up. So Andy's right on top of it. So yeah, there's no way Dylan's going down. So that's and that's what I had the idea for. So that's why I'm thinking.
Ian, so can you correct us if Tennyson's on his one-way portion of his deal?
One way, 2-way doesn't matter. It's all about the games played. So I believe you're right that Tennyson is. Let me just quickly get it for me for a second.
Here, I'll put it up on there. Tennyson.
And if you're let me just for anybody who is watching this cast, the Puck Guy or the Pucknology After Dark cast, who has never listened to Teal Tinted Glasses.
Shame on you.
Oh my God, you have to go listen to it, because I'm telling you, last week we did a Pacific Division preview, and Ian came in with one of the funniest lines that I've ever heard, because, when you do a preview, you have to address what that team did the year before. And what was great is he would be like, Arizona Coyotes, last year it was, 36 wins, 24 losses, 17 ties, and that's what they did. And when he did L.A., Ian laid it out. He was just like, yeah, they were like 44 wins, 21 losses, 11 overtime losses, 17 convictions.
Yeah.
It's one of the funniest things that I've ever heard in my life.
Oh my goodness.
And then Rocket Backhander just like laid on top of it, and he goes, really? That's where you went with that? Because I thought it would have been like, 26 grams of coke, 12 tablets of ecstasy, 7 pills of Oxycontin, and 6 black eyes to the LA Kings wives. I mean, it was, oh my God. It was listen to the last episode of Teal Tinted Glasses. Go get it. It was hysterical. I will do that show anytime you guys are nice enough to have me. That was
absolutely
blast.
It's awesome.
To chime in here,
and now
yes,
the love fest
Tierney
is over. Go ahead.
Tierney is on a one-way. Sorry, not Tierney. Tennyson is on a one-way deal this year.
So basically,
For sure.
if he comes up, he's got to go back down.
But Mueller can go down, right?
Mueller can absolutely go down.
Okay, so it's going to be an interesting last two preseason games.
Tennyson, I'm not sure where Tennyson stands. I mean, the reason why Tennyson's gone up and down like a yo-yo so much is because last year he was the guy that could escape from waivers where they wouldn't lose him. That's why I think, a lot of people are like, well, why is Tennyson going up and down so much? Is it because he's not good? And I think it had more to do with his waiver eligibility than it did with his skill.
That's what I figured.
Totally
as well.
agreed. Totally agreed.
Getting a text from Lady Stanley. Goodrow has 20 games left. Carlson has 7. Bertle has 41. So there's a very interesting.
Lady Stanley watches this? That's fantastic.
Oh, yes.
Very
Gail is very awesome.
I see her posts on the HF board. She's fantastic. She's always keeping people in the know.
Absolutely. So Carlson is an interesting thought. We'll touch up on that before we take off because he's been injured for most of the preseason. Does he start with the CUDA?
Gen X.
What about Goodrow as well? And actually, Andy is just throwing it out there. Andy says to Ian, he's not only 31 NHL games played for Tennyson.
Okay, that's what I thought.
So Patrick M, Generation X-Wing, he says, thank God they kept Mirko in the NHL all last season. In the press box, wasting a year off his ELC.
Yeah, I mean, they should have sent him back to Everett. That would have been the smart thing to do. And I guess, before the 9 games, I think they just kind of found themselves in a rock and a hard place because after that 9 games, you already burn a year of the entry-level contract, so if you send him back down to Everett, he's not coming back up. So, kind of put themselves in a corner there.
Yeah, and it's just something that was just a goof up. I mean, you can only do. They say, you can learn a lot from being up in the stands. Yeah, but it's also playing too.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't even like L. Rob. He was doing his half on, half off deal, so it wasn't like he was studying under Larry Robinson every day.
Yeah, totally. We'll just wrap this up here because there's not much left to go over with this game. They have 2 more games left. Both of them will be on KFox. Friday night they'll be in Arizona taking on the Coyotes with those jerseys. I'm just not sure on as of yet. And then they'll close out the preseason with the Ducks. Something tells me you'll see a lot more of the regulars in the lineup on Friday night and not so much Saturday night since the Ducks will be the first home opponent of the year.
Yeah, I can see that as well. And I just have to give a hat tip to Landy for his last response to NHL Ties. That was very good. Yeah, I would agree as well. But I got to tell you, I'm really liking what I'm seeing so far. Just in the short few pre-games that we've seen, I like it. Feels like they're pushing the pace harder. They're getting more into the slot. They're crashing the net. You guys, to me, Burns, while Jones had a fantastic night, and the seats that I had were very close to where the Sharks shot at, or I'm sorry, where they defended twice. So I got to watch a lot of Jones tonight. He was fantastic, but there was a lot of stuff that Burns was doing away from the puck that I don't think was on TV. That I don't know that I've ever seen Burns play as well as he did tonight. I mean, it was a really complete game on the puck and behind the puck. He was on it tonight. It was fantastic. Paul Martin seems to have given him a dose of confidence that has been just amazing for his play, and it really goes to show that it's, maybe it's a case of that just that little difference on the back end can be that big. And yeah, I'm telling you, Martin and Burns, this has been fantastic. And you just look at the points that the defense has put up since the preseason games have started. I mean, doesn't Burns like lead the Sharks in points at this point?
He does. And Martin, I think is a little more freestyle than Vlasic is. Vlasic is very much a clamp down, shut down kind of guy. Martin, he can move a little bit more, and I think that kind of part of his game is a little underrated. So I think he can keep up a little bit better with Burns and is able to predict him a little bit better. But I'd also like to point out that Martin has been better than advertised in his puck moving. I thought he was going to be more of an anchor style, more of that shutdown kind of guy, but he seems like he can really move that puck.
That's why I was kind of surprised as to why Martin's not on the second power play unit and Vlasic is.
That boggles my mind.
I don't get that either.
Yeah, but we'll see how fast that changed, because tonight it was Couture, Pavelski, Thornton, Burns, and who was the other forward?
Marleau.
Yeah, Marleau. So you had 4 forwards and a defenseman, and let's be honest, we've all seen the way Burns rolls. You almost had 5 forwards out there, and generally you would expect, from what we've seen in the past, that Burns, being a defenseman, is going to protect one of the points, and Marleau, because of his speed, is going to protect the other point. And tonight, at least in the first half of the game, it was Marleau, the one that was like getting down into the corners, and it was Couture protecting the corner.
Yeah.
Or protecting the point, which kind of shocked me a little bit, but it was just kind of like a little red flag in my head to go, yeah, okay, we've entered the DeBoer era. Like we're changing some things up. We're going to see how different things work, and for the most point, and I always have to preface everything that I say about tonight or at this time at all, is that it's a case of this is preseason, so you can't get too excited about certain things. And obviously the Sedins weren't there. Alex Burrows wasn't there. There were some key figures that weren't there. But I liked what I was seeing from this team. I am much more, my excitement level going into last season was about a 1.5, and this year it's like at these amplifiers go to 11. I'm much more excited about where this team is pointed towards, and I actually do have to give a hat tip to a Vancouver Canuck fan. You guys are going to laugh at this. There was in the third period, right, I want to say within the first 5 minutes of the third period, there's a puck that floated up beyond Jones. It gets lodged in between the plexiglass and the net. And there's a Shark fan right underneath it, and he's banging on the glass trying to dislodge it so it'll fall to him, and he gets it. Lo and behold, a Canuck fan wearing, of all, a Kevin Bieksa jersey, and we all know how much of a douchebag Bieksa can be, but a guy wearing a Kevin Bieksa jersey breaks out a selfie stick that can only be described as some sort of phallic replacement. I mean, this thing could, this thing could have like touched the top of the Empire State Building and went like, yeah, okay, that's cute. I mean, he just like, because the puck, like I said, was lodged in between the netting and the plexi, and you know what, Bieksa guy, he jammed his little selfie stick in there, dislodged it, fell right into the Sharks fan hands. They both smacked high-fived, and it was just like, you know what? That's the thing I appreciate seeing. We're all rooting for our teams, but there was a decent amount of Canuck fans there. I want to say like maybe 8 to 10% there tonight. And granted, they announced it tonight. They said it was 14,500 in attendance. I think they're overshooting that. I think that's paid attendance. I think it was much more closer to about 9,000. But there was a decent amount of Canucks fans there, and you know what? Every one of them, they weren't the entitled jerk-offs that we all had to engage 4 years ago. So it was really nice, because there's been more than a few times. I'm sure Eric's gone through it. I'm sure other people have gone through it where at the tank where, for the most part, you get really cool fans. You interact with them, whatever the situation, You interact with them, and they're very cool. But you always, and I'm sure that there's many a time where there's a fan from Tampa Bay or Carolina or whatever, and they're, Sharks fans are assholes or whatever because they got they were seated next to like the worst Sharks fan ever. But tonight, every Vancouver fan that I interacted with, all of them very nice. Now, that's probably a Canadian thing, they're all very polite.
Well, I also think the last 2 to 3 years have kind of humbled them a little bit because they have seen how fast things do shift. And I think that they kind of understand that now, or at least I hope they do. Just kind of how we were too, things were really good for us for a long time, and then some rough patches kind of started happening, and then we kind of saw what we really were made of.
Well, now see, this is a question for Ian because he's on top of this like no one is. We discussed it last time on the Teal Tinted Glasses podcast. Calgary has spent their money incredibly wisely. Yes. They are set up so well for the next 3 to 5 years. And Ian mentioned that their pipeline is so incredibly well stocked.
Still pretty well stocked.
Yeah, so you look at now tell me, because you're going to know about this, Vancouver, they've pretty much just like dismantled the franchise aside from the Sedins and Burrows and one or two
Kessler.
other names. Yeah, I mean, no, Kessler's gone, right? Kessler's in Anaheim, isn't he?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Kessler's in Anaheim.
Yeah.
BX is in Anaheim.
MBX is gone. I mean, they have pretty. Is Alex Edler even still there?
Yes.
Okay, so you have Edler still there, but it gets down to the point where Ryan Miller, as we discussed, he's not the Ryan Miller of old, and we saw tonight against a preseason squad, he is not what he used to be. It's not Eddie Lack anymore, right? Lack is
Jacob Markstrom.
Oh yeah, okay, and they've got a lot of belief in Markstrom. Well, okay. You've got all this money. I mean, that's the thing about Vancouver that I don't understand is, man, they are really willing to just blow loads upon loads of money on goalies who are past their, use-by date. But okay, so you've got that. You have Markstrom, and then the third one is Kanata, I want to say.
I think Kanata's next. I'm pretty Demko's in Vancouver too, if I remember correctly.
But I think Kanata's like third on their depth chart. But either way, it wouldn't surprise me if they try to move Miller, and who's going to take him at that ridiculous contract. But you look at what Vancouver has, what they're icing right now. Their front office is in disarray. What they're putting on the ice is in disarray. And yes, it's 5 years removed from a Stanley Cup. What I mean, Ian, tell me, do they have anything in the pipeline at this point that's like, I mean, I know there's a couple, there's like, what is it, Vananen, Tavanen or something? I mean,
and they have Jared McCann. My opinion of the Vancouver Canucks prospect pool is it has, there's some nice pieces in it, but I would put them closer to where we were a few years ago rather than with a Calgary or an Arizona or a Buffalo. I'm not overly high on Vancouver's prospect pool. I don't know what they have for prospect defense, to be completely honest. Nothing that's coming to mind. But yeah, they have definitely, there's some nice pieces there, but it's not, I don't think it's anything to write home about at this point.
Yeah, I see them.
Go ahead, Eric.
Yeah, I was saying that I see them kind of what we were 3 years ago, kind of just kind of muddling out of being that playoff run for such a long time, getting rid of high draft picks for such a long time, and now the roots are starting to come home, and you just don't know what they've got, and they've gone through this kind of weird transition phase in the front office, kind of like how we've gone through. And now I think they're just starting to come out of it, but there's still some very weird contract things that they've got going on there. I don't know why they did what they did.
Well, we actually discussed it on the Teal Tinted Glasses podcast, is that if you look at the 7 teams that are in the Pacific Division, Vancouver has the most non-movement or no trade clauses out of all the teams in the Pacific, and it's I mean, how do you tie your hands like that? You look at LA, they have one, and that's the guy that they just got, Lucic. And you just think, how do you tie your hand, why would you handcuff yourself like that? But, that I think that's a discussion for another Pucknology After Dark. We're going to take one more tweet and wrap this up. The best tweet, of course, coming from Generation X, our favorite, because he says that when I brought up the idea about there being a decent amount of Vancouver fans tonight, he says, yes, because it's cheaper to fly to San Jose for a game, even with the exchange rate. So, and I believe, I don't know if it was on CSN the last game, but they did point out, and this is, I think, another thing that we could get into 2 or 3 games in when we're looking for something else to talk about. But actually focusing a little bit more on the Sharks' schedule this season, just because, as it was pointed out, and I'm sure Puck Guy remembers it, I'm sure Landy remembers it, I'm sure Ian remembers it, and everybody else that are Sharks fans, that I believe it was like 2 seasons ago, it might have been last season, but I think it was 2 seasons ago, where the Sharks played the Canucks 4 times that season, and it was over.
And they were done by like November.
Thanksgiving. Yeah, it was like by Thanksgiving, all 4 games were over. And now, for some reason, this season
we don't see him until February.
Yeah, we don't see him till like after frickin' Valentine's Day, and you're like, really? Like, who is putting this shit show together? I mean, like, seriously. I mean, this is like some of the seriously silliest schedule I've ever heard of.
And I would love to go deeper into the schedule for the rest of the division for like Edmonton, Calgary, and Vancouver, and see, do they have back-to-backs against LA and Anaheim in their schedules? I wonder. But that's for another podcast.
I just like to make one plug, if I may.
Go.
That I'll be joining the very gracious guests at Teal Tinted Podcast either next week or the week after. So,
Jesus Christ! They'll let anybody on there.
Yeah.
No, I think they're trying to go through the rounds of Pucknology After Dark.
Oh, that's what it is. Dude, you got some big shoes to fill. That was very funny.
Oh gosh, I've listened to that last podcast I think at least 2 times already.
And with that, Gen X is literally putting together a Photoshop where it's like, let's see how fucking big AJ's head can be before it won't fit on his screen.
Oh boy, help us all. Help us all. All right, with that, we will for time. Not that AJ's a little horn genius. That Tuesday night, 7 p.m. You'll see the links. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're gonna have a blast. 8 people talking Sharks hockey, at least. Could be more. It could be up to 10. Even 2 females. How's that for diversity for you?
There you go.
Yeah. Teal Tinted Glasses, Pucknology, Bay Area Hockey Talk. We're gonna have a blast. We're gonna have an awesome time, and it's all gonna be about Sharks hockey. Oh, you want?
Yeah, you have like a huge brain trust here. So if you have any questions or anything that you want that you think that you'd like the panel to answer, let us know, because.
Absolutely. Hockey, I've already heard from 3 people they really enjoyed Ian's Hockey 101 because they were people that were, they're just getting into it, and so the fact that you explain some of the rules, they really enjoyed that. So yeah, that's a great segment.
Aim to please.
Absolutely. And if you have, excuse me, and if you have any that you need to cover, Ian, definitely will go over the 3-on-3 since that will be still fairly new. Bring it over. We'll be more than happy to do that. I'm sorry, AJ. Yes, sir.
I'm sorry. I just wanted to ask a question in case any of you gentlemen know. I was under the impression that going into tonight, every preseason game was going to have a 3-on-3 overtime, regardless of the score when after the 3 periods, and we were all sitting there waiting to waiting for the 3-on-3, and they all went to the center ice, raised their sticks in the air, and we're like, "Things are coming out." And we're like, "Wait, what?" So is anybody aware?
It was scheduled. There was a scheduled game that the NHL, they didn't really release it to the public, but they had a set schedule of which games would have 3-on-3 regardless of game outcome.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it was it 2? I want to say that there was 2 in the
2 or
preseason that they
3
had.
for each team, I think.
I thought it
is what
was
they
3.
tried to do.
I
can't remember exactly, but
Because they didn't even do it Saturday night against Anaheim, and me and Gentry were like, oh, I guess we can go now. All right.
Yeah. So
because we were just having a joke. Okay, it's 2-1 and we're going to overtime. What happens if the Sharks score?
Yeah. Exactly. So, before you clear this out, breaking news from Chester, one of our favorites, Chester Chivo. Just to let you know, it all depends on what you're doing on Thanksgiving Day. If you partake of the turkey and potatoes, if you decide to go a different way, there are some people that enjoy Chinese food on Thanksgiving. It all depends upon your favor. But Joshua Nedich, our buddy Chester Chivo, wants you to know, breaking news, that my head will be afloat on the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade because, well, So I'm just letting you know. So that's fantastic. And Generation X is pointing out that we need to have a talk about my ego. He's not judging me or anything, but oh my God. So we will be talking about that. And I think one thing that we are not talking about tonight, and that we should never bring up again after what I'm about to say, Andrew Bench, seriously, bro, shut the fuck up. Seriously, shut the fuck up. Seriously. And with that, Eric.
Wow, I can't even get in on this. This is ridiculous. All right.
Oh goodness.
Hey, you know what? Go ahead, Ian.
Yeah, Ian.
I can't Okay. Deep breath. All right. I understand that people don't like change, and I understand that people want Rock and Roll Part 2, and some people are somehow ignorant to why the Sharks changed it. But give me a break. I can separate artist from art. I get that argument, but at the same time, you can't blame the Sharks as an organization for getting rid of a goal song for a pedophile who's been convicted 4 fucking times. How anybody could defend this, and get really mad at the Sharks for doing this, I don't understand. Obviously, as an organization, I'm a fan. I can separate the artist from the art, but, I'm not making the decisions, so it doesn't matter what I think.
And you know what? For me, exactly what you're saying is exactly perfect. And I think what essentially kind of piles a layer on is the fact that they tried to do this 7 years ago because this douchebag, essentially the same reason. Yes, it was shunned by the fans, or it was rejected, whatever you want to say. And for all we know, it was mostly because they just didn't pick a song that everybody liked. And I'll be honest with you, so far, not everybody's liking 6 a.m. I got to be honest with you.
But
there might be a new song next season.
But no one likes anything. You're never going to get everyone to agree on a goal song.
And that's what I was bringing up. But the fact, to me, honestly, literally, I wanted to just grab Bench by the shirt collar and go, dude, were you even a fan? Were you even involved? Did you watch the Sharks 7-8 years ago when they tried to make Holiday the new song? You probably weren't. So, sit down, shut the fuck up, watch the game, and, be cool, and just chill the fuck out. Andrew, for the most part, has had some decent articles. Some you makes you question his intelligence a little bit, but for the most part, his articles have been something that are worthwhile. Tonight, Andrew shit the bed. Big time.
I don't think Andrew's a bad person per se. I don't want to come off as saying Andrew's a terrible person. I just think that
he's young and ignorant,
tone deaf on a topic, and just
yes.
it just, to me, it's just tone deaf. To me, I understand, like I said, no one's going to agree on a song. And, but you can't really fault the Sharks for changing this. And if you want to say, well, no one was boycotting games, maybe not. But a lot of season ticket holders after this last conviction made waves, because that's whenever, all this stuff happens. A lot of season ticket holders are calling their ticket rep saying, hey, I don't know why this, worried about royalties, worried about a lot of things like that. And hey, don't get me wrong, if they were giving Gary Glitter money to play that song, I'd absolutely want it gone. Now, the reality was that it was a part of a package deal, and Gary Glitter wasn't basically making anything off of it. But still, it's just...
And you know what?
They had to change it.
And the oh, fuck you, fucking Chester, you son of a bitch. Hold on, we'll get to that in a second. No, our favorite two watchers, stalkers, whatever you want to call yourselves. Our favorites, Gen X and Chester. No, Gen X just had a fantastic point on Twitter that said, "What's saddest is..." All right, yeah, calm down, puck guy. We'll get to that. Gen X just laid it out. He says what the saddest thing is, it took 4 strikes to call him out, and that is absolutely correct. It's absolutely like we should have. You think about where the Sharks are located in the Bay. I mean, we're one of the most progressive areas in the country. That it took this long for them to figure this out. And I get it. They were probably looking at some of the other NHL teams and running on their coattails because they were still playing that song, and it is, unfortunately, a very popular song for this. But I think we should probably end it with between that and a big hi-yo fuck you to Chester Chivo, you son of a photoshopping bitch. You motherfucker.
We were doing so well with the curse words, and even Ian cursed, which was shocking.
I'm very passionate about this topic.
Hold on, wait a minute, Eric. Let me ask you this: since
Yes, sir.
you know that I went to the game, you know that when I go to the games, I have a decent amount of cocktails. When I came back, was I pretty much straight? No, I mean honestly, take a honest evaluation. Was I straight? Was I sloppy? Was I saying? Was I cussing every other word? Okay, now, okay, thank you.
Only the Sharks confessed.
Okay, but I appreciate that recognition, and with that,
no, totally.
I appreciate the recognition, and with that, Chester Chivo. Oh, fuck you, dude. Fuck you. With your fucking Photoshop skills, you son of a bitch.
Oh boy. Okay. With that.
Wow.
All right, we're gonna let Eric end this thing.
Yeah, no. I thought we were going to. I was going to bed already.
All right, shut it down, bro.
That's like 2:30 a.m.
So the Sharks win 2-1 in a meaningless preseason game
with no overtime.
They will play again Friday, 6 o'clock in Arizona against the Desert Dogs, and then wrap it up Saturday night in Quackenheim against the Mighty Sex. With that, for AJ Strong, for Eric Landy, for Ian Reed coming in out of nowhere, for Chester Chivo, Gen X, and all our friends and fans, we can't wait to see you on Tuesday night at 7 p.m. with our teal-tinted spectacular. Until then, keep it real, keep it fresh, keep it real fresh. Good night.